Hello and good afternoon. Today, again, as part of these, it's a pretty chill streams as well as on the YouTube channel, the Quick Look At series. And today, uh, just doing a quick dive into the world of streaming, and not the streamers themselves, as actual streamers and content creators can talk about what they do themselves in a far better way than I can as a very small entity. But instead, looking at some of the back end processes from some of like the organizations that these people are part of, like 100 Thieves, Luminosity, Phase, uh, to like United Talent Agency, which actually does a lot of the lifting for them. To say that platforms like Standard that offer right there. So I think a lot of it, again, none of it is like everything is public information. It's not like I've done the most investigative research for this project for this video, but what it does illustrate is that like these operations, like it's like these are like big. Certainly it's a big business behind this. Again, back to the consistent theme of what I've been saying, right? The entertainment industry is ultimately a somewhat zero sum game, but the entertainment industry, but certainly the pie is incredibly large. And you think about how some of these a decent chunk of these people, like whose names uh, you'll see on this list, like how these guys are able to do this full time. Like if you think about it as a pyramid, uh, then the pyramid is working out for them in that sense, right? Because you can only have so many people. There's only so many, right? Like not everybody can be an entertainer, right? Because also, then who's going to be the ones who are paying, right? So it's a pyramid that there's always less people on top than there is at the bottom. Uh, and that dynamic isn't very likely to change. But and ultimately, that is what makes then like the actual like business end of these guys pretty interesting, and how like they are ultimately jostling for position and moving forward as you know uh, like this direct to consumer engagement grows in prominence and relevance, certainly to advertisers or certainly to companies and brands. And of course, you see that through sponsorships that these guys do, but that's likely is going to continue to increase. Certainly, just look at all the money that's still in like TV or like traditional advertising methods, and think about how how it has migrated to Facebook, and it's trickling over, but it's still not at a rapid pace of adoption. And so, uh, in the sense of like, well, are you like directionally in the right place? Then arguably, like these guys are in the right place. And then for like UTA again, which is a massive talent agency, it's these are like UTA. Uh, Certainly, I'm not gonna be so bold to say like the biggest. Again, I have a personal engagement with UTA, but certainly, I think if you have to look at like the people who represent these guys, the people they represent, like JB Smooth. I mean, I'm in look through the full roster. I'm just going down the list to see people I personally recognize. Like Larry the Cable Guy, Kyle Mooney, right? SNL, Ken Thompson, SNL, uh, like Nick Offerman, like Lonely Island. Like UTA is big, and the fact they have a and again this is a slightly gaming slant, right? Because this is gaming is kind of what these guys focus on. These Luminosity, Phase, 100 Thieves, and I'll talk about this later. But like Pitchbook is a in like industry level data provider, which is really useful for private companies and startups to provide like in a concise view, like the valuation of private rounds. It's great. It's not like it's publicly traded, so it's not like we have a daily public mark to market of what a company's quote unquote value is. And so it's private companies. Sometimes the terms aren't fully disclosed, or it's harder to know what the terms of a fundraising deal is, or to aggregate how much a company has raised in total up to that point. And so these guys, I'm sure there's more organizations out there, but these were the ones that uh, actually it's uh, yeah. I'm trying to think of any other gaming orgs out there. Uh, really quickly, but I don't think so. Any gaming organizations? Definitely in the comments. Definitely feel free to let me know if you do think of it's not like or an organization or that you think does have the scale. Uh, but kind of where I was going with that was that right? Like you have 100 Thieves, right? You have like Phase, your Luminosity, right? But you don't have like if I look up offline TV, I they don't have something. So I think it's very interesting, and that it just goes. It's not a shot at OTB or anything like that, but it's just it's a recognition that like 100 Thieves is like an actual operation, something like uh something like offline TV it's not a it's not an operation in that sense, right? And of course, and that's not a shot again. Like the joke about 100 Thieves is like it's just like a merch company. I'm being so serious. If you go to 100, okay, slightly side tangent, but if you go to 100 Thieves website and you'll this is the again do your own like maybe Google decides to maybe my search engine optimization works differently. Uh, but look up 100 Thieves, and I'm pretty sure you'll get to this page, which is their 100 Thieves. Like I'm like enough. I'm not looking at anything else. It's just their merch stuff. But I know these guys have an about page. Like like OTK has One True King has a about page. I couldn't find an about. I don't know if I'm like very small, but I do not see a way to navigate to like an about page or to like business content. Like, and again, but not judging it. And then if you do a separate search, 100 Thieves about, then you'll get to this. And so again, the joke again, not a shot, but it's just the joke of 100 Thieves, not taking a shot at OTB. But then OTB is kind of the same of being a yeah, being a merch company also. So, but not even a company though, right? Because they don't like they're not a company, and these guys are 100 are UTA clients. So I think it just goes to show, like, if you think about like why some of the like why 100 Thieves seems more professional than offline TV, uh, then I think that does kind of show. Like again, and you, again, like in the sense that like something I like about these series is the same thing with like the previous stream about just like looking at the fiscal year 20, looking at the most recent fiscal year financial results of some of the some of the gaming companies to try to fill in the picture, at least provide a different lens. Yeah, I think that's interesting. It's not something that's most intuitive, and I think right, but it's insightful, and certainly it's uh, something you can dig into yourself and do your own research and draw your own conclusions. I think the same thing comes again, like gaming, very like consumer, like front facing. The same with these guys. Like you go through the talent roster, uh, or 100 Thieves talent roster, like you you know who these guys are, right? And like you interact with these people. It's not like watch their content to know who they are, right? And so again, it's interesting exercise to delve into a different lens to think about it and to fill in the detail as to why, again, repeating myself, but why 100 Thieves operates differently than offline TV, for example. But yes, I suppose the joke is ultimately, end of the day, they're both just fundamentally merch companies. Uh, if again, companies, the asterisk. Uh, but yeah, I don't know if that preface right of like why I'm using wonderful Pitchbook. On that note, we should dive into it. And starting off 100 Thieves again, definitely when it came to like Pitchbook, I'm like again they're a big operation. Like Dan Gilbert, owner of the Cleveland Cavaliers, Quicken Loans. He's only a significant player again, like Drake and these guys' venture portfolios, uh, and you kind of see that borne out, right? In again the quantitative numbers of what these guys do. Again, 160 valuation, like right. Uh, excuse me, there are these guys. I color. There we go. Again, wonderful Pitchbook. Yeah, if anything else, it's like Pitchbook. It does get referenced and name dropped a lot, certainly within like tech media, or again like financial related stuff. So if anything, and again, it does cost a lot. Like lucky enough to have access to it through a university. Uh, but so if anything, you can say that you know how Pitchbook looks like. Uh, yeah, series. Yeah. See, the interesting thing, not to be too technical, financial, but if you look at the valuation stuff, right? Right. Like the valuations for these guys, 460. See, such seems the biggest, but I know FaZe wasn't talks to go public through a SPAC, I believe. Let's. Okay, so the SPAC's not going anywhere. And again, this is a quick overview, like SPAC, special purpose acquisition companies, have been performing poorly. That's only a large part because of it's like selection bias, right? Companies self-select to go public, direct listing or traditional process versus SPAC. It's some selection bias, but generally I feel like more speculative, less developed, less fundamentally viable companies in general. And so I suppose in essence, FaZe, and again, given the fact that it's clearly not going to work out, or it seems that's not going to work out. Again, don't want to speak indefinite, but yeah, I suppose like the economic viability of these guys, or I suppose Twitch streamers in general, because right, Twitch wasn't around with like the the GFC, the Great Financial Crisis, right? 2008. I suppose that's another thing for the future. It's a fun thought process, right? Of like how these guys are doing, like an actual financial crisis. Was COVID? I guess COVID was like a test run, and I suppose in essence, the fact that COVID, like the viewership for these guys, for like Twitch content creators during COVID, like spiked. Right. I don't have I don't have quantitative numbers to back that up. I'm sure like the actual content creators themselves do, but like COVID was because right, it's like artificial demand for like entertainment in that sense. But the thing is like COVID, it wasn't a recession. It didn't necessarily. Well, at least again, like the success of these streamers, like it would indicate that like actual disposable income. But again, like streamers, it's not a required good. It's a luxury good. These like okay, some economics jargon. So it's yeah, COVID. I mean, COVID. Like, it shows how like like if if entertainment options are artificially constrained, and naturally like demand will shift to what's available, and that's the benefit, right, of being like actually like a software entertainment company, basically, right? Uh, yeah, it's not like software entertainment, right? Like they're not like a movie production studio, which was affected, which is still entertainment, but still affected. But software entertainment, bueno. But yeah, a bit of a side tangent, but definitely an interesting thing, and definitely I'm very open to. I've not found any reading about, and again, like to the sense that like streaming and like content creation is still kind of like a nascent thing. That's not really. I don't really find like interesting research reports or like write ups about this stuff. So definitely, if you know of anything, please send it my way. I'm definitely happy to read about it. I find the occasional interesting interviews, like interview with one of the guy in charge of Standard.TV on the Nilay Patel's The Decoder, which was a very interesting thing because, like, okay, again, rambling around, but like on YouTube, you see like the how some creators will very consistently have commercials for Curiosity Stream, and like, or like they'll mention how like they have shows for Curiosity Stream or on Curiosity Stream. Well, Standard.TV is that like is kind of like the thing that facilitates that, right? Okay, Standard.TV, you go through the talent roster, right? But like these are some pretty big channels. I have to have like I don't know all of these guys, but I know some of them. You know, Alt Shift X, right? So for me personally, like half as interesting, closer look, Wendover, right? And so again, like those Curiosity Stream commercials, like I'm pretty like again, it's embedded in the videos, so I can't get away with it. And again, so again, if anything, I hope like at the very least, like you will know who is behind the Curiosity Stream commercials, or like at the very least, I had no idea. And so right, and then in a sense like these are businesses that are operating behind the scenes. Actually, I don't look Standard. Curiosity Stream is public. CURI is the ticker. But all right, side tangent. But back to 100 Thieves. Yeah, I suppose from a valuation perspective, and again, private valuation marks are a bit artificial. That it's like it's not like necessarily. Again, it's not a public, so it's not like you're gonna get day to day. You get like periodic, right? You get a valuation set in 2018, 2019, 2021. So it's not right when if something goes public, the numbers tend to be different than the private mark. But yeah, but would you have thought that 100 Thieves is a $460 million, or at least nominally, a $460 million enterprise? Would you have thought that? I did not going into this. I thought that would have been much smaller, maybe like 100 million. And so again, part of it's because like like Dan Gilbert and co. Let's see like the investors. Investors, the different series, like yeah, I didn't really recognize any of these like venture. Oh, I guess Sequoia. Oh, that's interesting. Mark Benioff. Okay, that's actually kind of interesting. Like Mark Benioff, Salesforce CEO, Sequoia Capital, certainly a pretty reputable venture capital firm. Right. And so again, that just shows like how like again 100 Thieves like it's a legit business and a legit operation. And so I think again we think of it like the creators, how like and Valkyrie is a part of 100 Thieves, or like the people, like the new people they add to the roster. It's interesting to think about potentially why they're doing that, and then secondly, like so why 100 Thieves wants those people, and then secondly why those people want to be part of 100 Thieves. And so I revisit that, but that's the interesting thing. And so certainly just the same reason people prefer to work at say a FANG company like Microsoft or Alphabet instead of going to a startup, and some like the competition for talent, and like the undertones of like security versus stability versus optionality kind of trickles into again same decision making like concepts filtering into streaming. Cloud9, I am a bit surprised by how much like employees nominally these guys have. I'm not sure if the employee number is like including like the streamers, the content creators, or like the esports players themselves, or if it's actually like actual backroom staff. I think it includes everybody. I struggle to think that I have like 212 backroom staff. You know, uh, oh gosh, there's more. Oh, Fnatic. Shoot, I might have exposed my ignorance about the space. Uh, oh, okay, okay, and I guess the joke with OTB focused on apparel. Everything else, but it does mention apparel, so let's contextualize that. Patents. A video caster chair. I would not have thought that Cloud9 would have had a patent, but there you know, they have so much a chair related uh, technology. Chairs, chairs. Nice. That's good. That's actually kind of funny. Cloud9, nominally a $350 million entity. Yeah, definitely when it comes to like the actual investors. Let's see. Don't know you guys top of my head. Don't know these guys top of my head. Oh, United Talent Agency. We'll get to them shortly. Angel investors. Alexis Ohanian, Reddit co-founder. Yeah, and again, it's interesting, right? Because like a common like certainly one of my principles is just like, if like you want to tell something's BS or like is actually legit, just like follow the money. If there's actually money going into it, uh, then so right, like money talks, right? So in essence, then like it's kind of like self-fulfilling prophecy in that sense. And it's certainly again like so it's like the viability of like entertainment as a space that people want to invest in, kind of like get in on the ground floor of like say like the next generation of like quote unquote movie studios. It must have been pretty nice to be like at the ground floor of like Skydance or MGM or any of like Paramount or like Comcast studios. But yeah, like there's big names behind it again, like Dan Gilbert, Ohanian, Sequoia Capital. So again, like the space, it's a big space, and so and again in the way that you as a viewer or engage with their content does in a very like admittedly marginal sense, but does like actually affect the viability of these companies and the people behind them and the people that have equity stakes in the companies. And so in essence, that's an interesting lens to look at it. I should save these companies. I'll do it later. Fnatic, 100 game again. Yeah, merchandise. Yeah, for all the innovation, it does seem like a new like direct to consumer form of entertainment. It does seem a lot of the monetization does end up being merchandise, and that makes sense though, right? Because the monetization, right? Like Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, they kind of take a decent chunk of monetization of being platforms, right? Like these guys are not platforms; they are vendors, they are creators. They are not a platform, right? Like YouTube is a platform, Twitch is a platform. These guys are creators. Again, if you boil it down. So yeah, I guess in essence, then like pretty much it's kind of like direct to consumer stuff like Patreon or like Fan House, of like those like direct Patreon like those direct payments, or it is merchandise, which is outside the platform. And I think that's again not the most revolutionary, but it's an interesting thing about how do you guys ultimately are kind of like beholden to something else. Oh, you two are. Okay. Investors. Oh, crowd equity. That's interesting. It might be like seems a bit more of a gimmick crowd equity from some of like people I've talked to and who like do stuff who like facilitate some of those platforms. There was like a recognition that the companies that go through crowd equity are like in lesser quality. At least from like what I've heard. But yeah, I suppose a direct access is nice. RG2 40 million. Uh, G2 just of Psy. Pretty sure. Gosh, I forget if he's the one of the guys with Alibaba. But again, Dan Gilbert. Oh, 2019. So roughly the same time. Decent. I think after 100 Thieves. Uh, Andre Gomez. Is he the football player? That's what caught my attention. Yeah, okay, just is the Alibaba. Alibaba. Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's most invigorating. Andre. I I can't tell if this is the the Everton football player, but TMMV. Don't really know these guys. 210. Investors. I can't really find it, but Post Malone, right? Yeah, definitely when it comes to like celebrity investment, it does seem like or at least in like the family offices or business ends of like that the celebrities are involved with do seem to tend like. I mean, it makes sense, right? Like entertainment is kind of like the sector they work in, and like this is entertainment ultimately, the entertainment industry. So it does make sense in like the synergies. Dignitas, I don't know. I assume they're gaming. If Pitchbook is directing me in the right direction, and acquired by the Sixers and the good old Josh Harris. G2 already looked at. Optic, I guess, yeah, smaller operation. Have they had funding? Oh, it's acquired by Envy, which we bouncing ground ownership. Luminosity. Uh, Acquire. Didn't realize there was so much like M&A, mergers and acquisitions in this space. Good thing, like it's an early space, and so it's kind of like it wouldn't be too hard to bootstrap, right? And it's not like talent is like super locked in. It's not like we're arguing over like the mining rights for like lithium or something. Like it's entertainment is not finite. Like 24 hours in a day, like the adjustable market, yes, is finite, but the actual means to produce isn't in the at least or at least it's not bound in a meaningful sense. Um, of course, again, like the 24-hour principles goes to supply and demand, but ultimately it's much easier to create supply. I think as like anybody in the entertainment industry would agree, much easier to create supply, much easier to create some type of show, regardless of how good or bad it is, than it is to have people actually watch the show, to actually watch the movie, to actually watch your YouTube video, to actually watch your Twitch stream. Um, right? If supply and demand were evenly matched, I don't think like I imagine, like again, just like due to numbers, like viewer counts, like it wouldn't be such a pyramid of like viewer counts. Like it wouldn't be such a sharp pyramid. A better, I should have a whiteboard to draw it. Okay, here we are. Would a better streamer who's better at OBS use the Windows whiteboard app? Yes, but I have sourced the capture to Chrome, not my browser. Yeah. Oh, I guess I'm gonna draw a couple images. So this is the entertainment. This is the entertainment pyramid, right? I've noticed that it's surprisingly tough actually, like well, at least for me to talk and to do like spatial movement or like tasks. It's kind of I've noticed that for some like a job I've had previously. Surprisingly difficult. I've spoken to people who can do it well. I guess like left and right brain can't multitask. But the entertainment pyramid, right? And like here we are. There's like different layers, right? You have like 100 Thieves. You have like what a big spectrum is like X. X2C is like part of luminosity, so like luminosity. Right, you have like the big pyramids. Then you have like small streamers, small independent streamers who are unaffiliated with these larger operations, and so more freedom, but then like don't have like the support structure, like don't have like on Twitch like a Twitch team. It's like engaged viewership. Then you have like non-creators, like the actual like consumption end. So if you think about it, right, like economically, if there's only so much money available, like money flows upward, right? Because where does the money come in? These guys, like the non-creators, are not taking money. Like these guys do not have a Patreon. The money, right? If you think about it, like money flows up, and naturally, right? And like every single end like takes a slice, or at the very least, like there's only so much money, and this money cannot be evenly. It's not equal at every stage, and naturally, just like how like industries, like there tends to be consolidation in industries, right? Because it's just very like again think about like normal distribution, right? You have like negative outcomes, positive outcomes, naturally, right? So like normal distribution again, like my my bell curve is a bit messed up, admittedly, but again, like functionally everything, abstractly, everything can functionally plot themselves into a bell curve, a normal distribution, right? And so you have like positive viewing experiences, negative viewing experiences, and so over time, like it'll still be a bell curve, except it will only include, we won't have this end. So the bell curve will naturally self-select into the stuff that it listed neutral to positive, not negative to neutral. And so then like you just go through the process of what happens to that bell curve, right? And to me that explains why like the top of the pyramid takes the most dollars, and the bottom of it, so like these small guys, a little dollars, right? And again, it's the ultimate. It's that self-selection of and just in a very numerical sense, at least, like how that progression works, right? Like again, just like again, bell curve, like self-selection, self-optimizes. Entertainment pyramid, and again to my supply versus demand concept, right? Supply, again, horrible chart. Gosh, yeah, my micro econ isn't helping out. But supply, again, if the demand is harder to come by. Again, right? If demand was plentiful, then every movie would do well at the box office. Morbius would do well at the box office if demand was plentiful. We would all be morbid if demand was plentiful. It's not. Supply is the constraint, and we can model that, at least like visually. We can model it with a logarithmic supply, ignoring exogenous supply shocks like COVID, is ultimately the limiting factor. Because demand, there can be much more demand, right? There's like so many Twitch streamers out. There's so many like aspiring YouTubers, so many aspiring like in social media influencers. But there's only so many people who is willing to consume content. Like objectively, like an 80-year-old isn't going to be watching a Twitch stream. So there's ultimately like a cap to how many eyeballs on top of the 24 hours. So there's ultimately that cap, and so ultimately supply is what limits is the limiting factor. Uh, is that that's my concepts. Visualizing the concepts, right, of like the pyramid of entertainment, and in the sense of like again, it's I think reasonably intuitive. I think we understand that like the big guys, XQC, Pokemon, the big streamers, right, like raking in very big money. Like again, like the Twitch leaks, right? You can look it up and see evidence of that, right? And again, I think the reason why is ultimately like the best rise like through like just like distribution, right? Like you can visualize just like cutting off like the bottom 50, and so from the bottom to top 50, 25 self selects, and the supply is the limiting factor. Supply of eyeballs, like again, I think ultimately right. Like if demand was plentiful, then like movies would do like Morbius, like movies would do good, or like everybody would have like X number of viewers, or more viewers than they have. So it's only like because then like if demand is infinite, everything would be like ultimately like distributed somewhat evenly, or maybe there's a bit of a tail to the top end, but it'll still be much more evenly distributed than it is now, which is extremely curved. You think of like XQC, like 90K viewer streams versus like zero, maybe a 0% stream like this one, right? And so that is that visualization. Phase does come off as a bigger operation, more formal, right? A lot of esport presence was certainly credible enough to be near. Oh, look, they have like a wonderful EBITDA, right? I guess technically not if it's negative. Smosh. Okay, just for the heck of it. But fans are definitely a bigger firm, like Snoop Dogg, Lewis, Snoop. Yeah, they did in the process of building up to go public. They were like building out the board roster, investor list. Ben Simmons, Ben Simmons. These are good basketball players. Josh Hart, Jamal Murray, Ben Simmons. Good old Ben Simmons. So that's a bit fun. Again, if you ever want to talk trash about Ben Simmons, then don't need to bring up his playing performance or shooting threes. You can bring up how FaZe is not going public, or how one of these gaming companies has a patent for chair-related technology. So I know Smosh does have outside investors, because yeah, Zelnick. Oh, Zelnick. Zelnick is Take-Two CEO, as you might recall from the previous stream. Zelnick, Take-Two CEO. Again, working in the media entertainment space, like Zelnick, he's not a technology guy, he's an entertainment guy. Excuse me. So at least my impression of like Zelnick Media Capital. So that's interesting. It's like they're involved. So at least to the financial aspect. Man, yeah, entertainment industry. Again, entertainment industry. Maybe it's not as complex as say like semiconductors or like deep tech, but certainly like it's just as nuanced and like how many different players there are, and like maybe even more so because of how consumer facing it is. Like if you're a semiconductor, like you're dealing with like large companies, you're not dealing with like individuals. If you're an entertainment company, kind of your entire thing is dealing with like individuals on like the consumer end, and then like all the various different players. I mean, UTA, like a big operation, all the different agents and like support they have. Like these are big players. No, I suppose not as big as IMG, but I'd imagine that IMG, like they kind of differ in like certainly with like content creators. Again, like the UTA esport roster. pretty big. Even then, these guys have people. These UTA has people from 100 Thieves. So I suppose even more so, 100 Thieves is basically like a merch company. Like it's if the actual like creators themselves are working with UTA. Like I think that maybe like 100 Thieves would like internalize those functions of like representing and like negotiating, helping out. But yeah, I mean, but again, not be charged to the 100 Thieves if OTVs literally like the entity itself is a client of UTA, then that's a bit interesting. That's a bit humorous. Yeah, UTA definitely. I definitely encourage you, like, if you're ever curious, just like go to UTA and just look through like the list of their talent and from esports to comedy, because it's again you'd be surprised at like cause these like if UTA is handling like the kind of like the business end or like helping out with the business end at least, then it's something I think interesting to think of like the back end. And again, like UTA, like it's something that you could get involved with directly. Like like they do need like people involved to like help uh, do some like quote unquote grunt work and of like client relationships and that. Because again, like it's a big roster, so definitely needs to help. OTK I stumbled across. It's only just came across some of their content recently. But again, like their game show. I think in a sense like there's like a spectrum of professionalism within streaming from like offline TV. I think objectively like we'd agree is a bit. I guess is their charm, right? Being like kind of scuffed. To then like OTK doing big events, having like game shows. To then like 100 Thieves. So there's like a spectrum of like professionalism. And again, you see it play out and like which of these guys actually have like a company profile on Pitchbook. So yeah, I suppose the one thing I do think is interesting is that in 10 years, right? In 10 years, we will continue to go down this like maturation process, right? So I wonder how like in 10 years, like how offline TV, because offline TV, like, it's not a robust operation, right? Like I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but it's just not a robust operation. Like I don't think anybody critique of me. Like the podcast like schedule is very sporadic. The content uploads very sporadic. Some of the members don't have OTB in like their biography. So I think it's interesting and like offline TV, it's basically just like a collection of people who stream video games. But there's like nothing else to it really. So I think it's interesting in like 10 years as some of the people, and we know some of the people like do want to leave streaming or like definitely want to move away from it to do other stuff. Like it'll be interesting to see like talent poaching, like talent being poached, but like going to other things. Like 100 Thieves much more substantive, like Phase much more substantive. Oh, like TV not so much, right? So that's an interesting thing. But again, right, that's kind of like interesting. Like again, like so much of like business and like finance is like thinking about like what the future is going to be. So like the venture capital firms that invest in these companies like are thinking about that, right? And so I guess in that sense, right, like you as a viewer, like you are ultimately voting with your eyeballs, with your feet, right, about what the future is going to be. So it's definitely something to think about as the maturing process works, as the pyramid reshuffles, not in size, but in who actually is where on the pyramid. Again, the fact that you contribute to the supply, which is the limiting factor to the entertainment industry. So all which is to say, your time watching Twitch streams does actually matter. So if you ever get criticized for watching a Twitch stream, maybe you can just point out, hey, Ben Simmons, the viability of Ben Simmons' investments in, I believe it was FaZe Clan, depends on your on your eyeball, right? So on that wonderful note of Ben Simmons and his venture portfolio, thank you for watching and sticking around. Definitely let me know in the comments. Again, like the entertainment industry, it's certainly much less formalized, much less formal. Like there's not like these guys aren't public, so there's like no like SEC filings. They don't have like formal investor relations like resources. And so ultimately, it's kind of like conjecture in the sense of like making assumptions. And so in that sense, and hey, I don't think my ability to make assumptions is that much better than yours. So please let me know in the comments if you have any good, interesting interviews or articles. I'm definitely happy to read. So thank you for watching. You can